Hi Pisces Sun and Rising. Welcome to a video on the transits of Jupiter and Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. And for Pisces, this is affecting your 12th house. I touched upon this in my December 2020 Astro Update, and this is kind of the more fleshed out version. And this is, the 12th house is your house, Pisces. So you're familiar with what this house represents, which is about solitude, meditation, the spiritual, everything, because Pisces, you ruled this house, and so your ruler is Neptune. So it's all things spiritual, past life oriented, karmic, and also some of the more challenging things like self-undoing, self-defeating patterns, in other words, including addictions. This is the house of dreams. Talking about, night dreams. So, and that's part of that psychic activity. Some people say when we go to sleep, we astral project. So it's not of this world, the 12th house, to put it mildly. So, how does Jupiter affect you, and how does Saturn? Well, Jupiter is this planet, the ancient ruler of Pisces. So Jupiter has this connection to the spiritual as well. Jupiter is a planet of luck and expansion. In the 12th house, it's like you have a guardian angel protecting you, which is kind of nice because Pisces as a sign, I think of you as kind of a babe in the woods, as kind of like this innocent lamb, and, surrounded by wolves sometimes maybe, and not necessarily recognizing who's a wolf and who isn't. So guardian angel protecting you can be very nice. This can be a time when it's easier to weed out addictions, phobias, and other self-defeating behaviors. And this, I'm giving a shout out to cafeastrology.com for giving me some ideas of these influences from the 12th house. And one of the things that they mentioned was connecting with your subconscious, or becoming more acquainted with it. And so that goes along with some of those patterns that are self-defeating, because a lot of times, nobody would consciously do something if they thought it was going to yield negative results. But sometimes we're just walking through life and we're just on automatic, and we think, we make certain choices, whether it's the choice of food that we eat, the choice of behaviors that we engage in, and we don't really think much of it. We're not intentional about it. It's just kind of like we're running on automatic. And when you really start to question some of those behaviors, you realize that they are not helpful, but you don't really feel like you have any choice. And especially a sign like Pisces, because you are connected to this particular house and the belief system that it, conjures up. So it's not surprisingly, the sense of learned helplessness that Pisces may have had because of coming from, in some cases, a chaotic background, and not seeing the kind of order in life that has life make sense. So for some Pisces, they may have seen life just almost seem like it was random, like things are just happening and there's no sense of order to them. And so it's hard to kind of process, make sense out of that when that happens. And as you get older, and especially if this is coming from your family of origin and you get away from that environment and you start to feel more and more like yourself, especially after your first Saturn return when you are around the age of 30, you start to really individuate, become who you are separate from these other people. And that's when you can start to reflect upon their influence over you. And that's like kind of the opening that happens. But even after that, there are still behaviors that we don't necessarily link to anything that happened to us. And yet they are coming from old tapes or just, scripts that have been laid out. And that's kind of the subconscious mind as well. All of these things that people have said to you that you've internalized and then you've acted out. So, there are, so many examples that could be mentioned. But I think you know what I'm talking about. I mean, if a parent says, you're so this or you're so that, and then you really, and maybe there was some grain of truth in it, but you just kind of like perpetuate it because you think that that's who you are because they told you that. So when you get to be more conscious that these things are not really you, but they're just, beliefs that need to be weeded out, you're able to do that. So it's really coming from a deep level. And I think that in getting rid of addictions and negative patterns, that a lot of that comes from connecting with that subconscious mind. Sometimes people who are very unaware, out of touch with it, they'll even get hypnosis or something like that so that they can implant those ideas. And I think hypnosis might fall in the 12th house. I'm not sure. But there are other things, even like past life memories. Some people get past life regressions and they find out that some of those patterns are coming from thousands of years ago, which is really wild, or at least hundreds of years ago. So another thing that might be really good at this time, or you feel a sense of expansion, is doing volunteer work or what is called selfless service. There's a term called seva, which, I don't know what language it is, but it's used in the yoga community to mean, volunteering in some capacity. And this is something that can not only be lucky for you, but it feels good. Of course, it always probably feels good, but this is really good. And I would even add to that and say that if you, let's say you're out of work and you're doing volunteer work, and that seems counterintuitive to be working for nothing when you don't even have a job of your own, you might get a paid position by volunteering. Obviously, we're not supposed to go into volunteer work looking for, some kind of financial gain, but it could happen regardless. You might find yourself going to some kind of spiritual retreat or getting involved with spiritual endeavors, meditation, and even if you already meditate now, you might be doing it more. You might be doing it with other people, connecting, that sense of expansion that Jupiter represents. Group meditation, maybe being a teacher of meditation, who knows? Spiritual retreats, maybe involving travel, because Jupiter involves long distances, other countries. Your dreams, when you dream, are more positive. I'm curious if Pisces as a sign tends to have a lot of nightmares. Again, because you're the last sign, you may just have this connection with, already this psychic connection with past lives in your present life. And I wonder if the dream state is something that is neutral, positive, or negative for you. If you have any pronounced experiences, leave it down in the comment section, because I'd like to know about that. I've really never thought about that. It just occurred to me now. And another thing that can happen too is that any love that you have, you might be keeping it on the down low for some reason. The 12th house can be kind of like behind the scenes. So if love comes into your life, you might be less willing to just, advertise it. So let's look at Saturn and how that will affect you in the 12th house. Now, I would say, I think I might have even said this in that monthly video, that Saturn in the 12th can be the dark night of the soul. Now, that's a little bit melodramatic, and I'm not sure that is true for everybody who experiences this. But I will say that the 12th house, because it is the house of repressing things, it's the house of skeletons in your closet. And these are things that, are secrets and just things that you don't even want to deal with, let alone have other people know about. These things may come up for you to have to face. Saturn is about facing the music. So, talking about addictions, if you've been able to get by and function and have an addiction, you might find that all of a sudden you have to, however it pans out, that you have to face this because it's time. This is the end of a cycle, so you have to finish up tie up these loose ends, and that includes some of the behaviors before you can start a new cycle. And Saturn demands responsibility. So this can be about some of those self-defeating patterns. One thing that just came into my mind, which what I'm doing now when I have something come into my mind, I really like to mention it because I feel like I don't sometimes honor my intuitive abilities enough. I'm too much in the mind. So what came into my mind is that if you're the type of Pisces who tends to blame other people and tends to play the victim, that you may have to look at that in a very straightforward way. And I want to just say something and make something very clear. I'm not stating that you have not been a victim. I would never dismiss that or minimize any abuse that is done to anybody for any reason. The point being that sometimes when people have been a victim of abuse, they either identify with their perpetrator and they become an abuser as well, but the other side can be sometimes that they identify with the role as a victim. It becomes part of their identity, especially if they experience it from multiple, avenues. It really can be easy to do that because it's like, it just seems like, okay, I guess this is who I am. I'm a person who gets abused, and that makes them feel like that's just how it is. And Saturn in the 12th house may say, take responsibility for the situation. Doesn't mean that person did not do what they did, but how you choose to react to it is crucial. So if you are beaten by your spouse, then if you even have the ability to trust a person again, to be able to get married again, live with somebody again, live with somebody under the same roof, that you are very careful that you do not get involved with another type of person like that, whether it's not getting involved with a hothead, not getting involved with somebody with addictions, that, whenever they drink, that's when they start being abusive. There are things that can be done. Obviously, we don't control other people. That's absolutely true. But there are times when people who have been abused repeat the cycle over and over again because they simply have not learned the lesson of whatever that is supposed to mean. Now, I'm coming from a position where I believe everything has meaning. Even if when somebody is abused, I don't think it means that they deserve to be abused, but it means that there's something to look at there. How do you value yourself? What is it that you need to let go of? And that can be the demons. And sometimes it can be scary to let go of the identity of being a victim, because it means you have to step into your own power. And that means that more responsibility, the onus of, the burden of life is placed on you, the responsibility of life. And so, another less dramatic example is somebody who becomes financially solvent or independent, and they support themselves and they leave home. Maybe, they're 20-something and they're still at home because they don't really want to accept full responsibility for themselves. They want to kind of live like a teenager when they are an adult. And once they step into this, they gain this kind of sobriety in their mind of it's time for me to grow up. It's time for me to stand on my own 2 feet. They can transcend that need to be that dependent person. And it's scary because you feel like you're losing something, So, I think that as I stated in that monthly video, I think that Pisces handles Saturn in the 12th house a lot better than most signs, because you already have this belief that, you have this spiritual connection to life that allows you to accept suffering as part and parcel of it. And so, but the real trick is to look at the positive angle of Saturn in the 12th, which means that it can give you more, I think it can give you more resolve to solve some of these issues. And Jupiter gives you more divine protection. So, sounds good to me. Okay, that's what I have for you, Pisces. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like to, look at your natal chart, I do that, and I also look at transits that are coming up for you. This is a general reading, so it's going to affect you eventually. Both of these planets will enter your 12th house, but when they do so will differ from person to person. The link below will take you to my order page, and they will provide more information on what I offer. And thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.